Hello, my name is Mary Bauer. I am the Deputy Legal Director of the Southern Poverty Law Center. Today I am here at the US-Mexican border in Tijuana, and I want to share a little bit with you about what we at the Southern Poverty Law Center have observed about the state of our border. Over the last several months, I've been to the border many times. I've interviewed children, parents, families who want nothing more than the opportunity to ask our country for legal protection in the form of asylum, something they are legally and morally entitled to do. Last night we heard the President in his State of the Union address talk about a crisis at the border. Once again, we heard him blame vulnerable migrants for our nation's ills. I can tell you that the President's right. There is a crisis at the border, but it is a crisis entirely of this President's making. By refusing to comply with both U.S. and international law, he has effectively shut down our asylum system. By refusing to process people seeking refuge in the U.S., this administration has forced thousands of desperate, scared people to wait in squalid and dangerous conditions at the border. What the administration is doing is blatantly illegal, and that's why we've now filed 2 lawsuits challenging the administration's attack on asylum seekers. And there's more to come. We at the Southern Poverty Law Center will not stop fighting on behalf of vulnerable people while this assault on our immigration system is taking place. It's worth taking a moment to consider the origins of the US Refugee Act, which created our modern asylum law. That law was based on the United Nations 1951 Convention and the 1967 Protocol. Those protections were adopted in the wake of World War II based on the West's shame of having turned away Jews during the Holocaust. We enacted those protections to make sure that we would never again turn a blind eye to vulnerable migrants at our doorstep begging for protection. It's impossible to stand here in Tijuana today and not conclude that the United States is failing in its legal and moral obligations. I'm sorry to say that that is the state of our border and thus an important part of the State of the Union. I can promise you that we at the Southern Poverty Law Center will keep fighting on behalf of the vulnerable and oppressed to make sure that the United States government lives up to its obligation and its finest ideals.